Hi, my name is Al Getler, and welcome to another episode of Lead or Be Led, where we try to bring you some of the best in leadership. We try to bring you leaders of people, leaders in the marketplace, leaders in technology, leaders in social media, and leaders in things like customer service, which is so very important to businesses today. In fact, it's the thing that differentiates a business from one business to the other. If you're not working on how you serve your customers, you're really not making a difference in the way you run your business. Now, Lead or Be Led is a show that we really produce for you to share with your friends, your colleagues, people who you think need to hear the leadership message. So I urge you, when you're done watching this episode today, take the time to share it. Send the links to people, tweet it, Facebook it, whatever you want to do with our episodes, we'd love for you to do because we want to spread the word about Lead or Be Led. Now, I'm very excited to have this guest on here today, and I say that often about guests because I really follow people that I love their message and that have passion and that believe in the same things that I do. Now, one of the things that anybody that knows me knows that I'm passionate about is going to Disney World and going to Disney properties and in general, anything Disney. It's not just that I love the experience of the Disney properties and what Disney does, but I'm a real fan of how Disney runs as a business, how much thought they put into everything they do, how much the customer means so much. In fact, the customer is really a guest and the employees are cast members. I am really happy to have an important guest with us here today involved in that entire theory throughout his entire career. My guest today is a gentleman named Lee Cockerell. I've been reading Lee's material for quite some time. His first book, actually, I found quite by accident. He has a new book out that I want to talk about. But first, I want to introduce you to Lee Cockerell. Lee, you there?
Hi there.
Hey, Lee, how are you?
Thank you, Al. Nice to be with you.
Well, I'm thrilled you are here. I've been following you for some time. I've read your first book, your second book. Were it not for the U.S. Postal System, I'd have sitting in front of me right now, but it's not here yet. It'll probably show as soon as we're done with this interview. But, Lee, if we can just dive a bit into who Lee is and your background. I know, Lee, that you are someone who's been in the hospitality business for quite some time, but that minimizes your career. Could you just give us a little bit of your background?
Well, I got out of the Army in 1965 and went to work for Hilton Hotels, worked for Hilton 8 years, including the Waldorf Astoria in New York. And then I joined Marriott and spent 17 years with them, and they were just terrific. When I joined them, they had 34 hotels. Now they have 4,000. And then I was recruited by Disney in 1990 to open the project in Paris and spent 3 years there, and then came back to Walt Disney World in 93 and spent 13 more years at Walt Disney World before I retired.
Well, you make it sound so easy and off the cuff there.
I couldn't keep a job. Had to keep moving around.
I have a feeling there's a reason for that, which we'll dive deeper into in just a few minutes. But, early on in your career, from the very beginning, you've been, first you served our country, and thank you very much for doing that. But then you served people. And what is it about the idea of serving someone in a hospitality environment that really captured you?
What I like about it is you get immediate feedback and immediate satisfaction. When you do a good job, they let you know. And even when I was running hotels for Marriott, I loved that because you get immediate feedback from not only the associates and cast members at Disney. When you do something good for them, they like it, they tell you, and so do the guests. And so not many jobs where you get immediate feedback, and which really feels good.
Well, it is so true, too. I mean, I've stayed in many hotels in my years, and the ones that are truly good and truly great are truly memorable, and as well as the opposite end of the spectrum. The ones that are terrible are god-awful, and you never forget those as well. So what is it that makes a hospitality experience memorable for a guest?
Well, I think the main thing is the quality of the employees that work in that operation. I mean, really, even in my book, I have a chapter that says, remember that your people are your brand. At the end of the day, you can put any name up on the building. If it says Marriott, make sure it's Marriott inside with the right people. And a Marriott hotel sign can come down tomorrow and another sign can go up from Hyatt. But at the end of the day, we stay in hotels where we get treated well and keep treated right, and where they make us feel special and take care of our individual needs. And it's all about the people. It's really, everybody's got a bed and everybody's got 10 pillows on the bed and everybody's got room service and express check-in and check-out. At the end of the day, the only thing that makes the difference are the people.
Well, it comes down to it, too. I mean, if you introduce me to the manager of any brand's location first, I already know how my stay is going to be. So tell me about leadership in the hospitality environment. What's important about being a leader in that environment?
Well, for me, it was being out and about, making sure I knew what was going on. So when I ran a hotel, I got in very early in the morning, 6 o'clock, walked every floor to make sure they were clean, no room service trays there. The newspapers had been delivered. I checked the elevators, make sure there was nothing strange in them from overnight. I met all the meeting planners in the banquet areas who are all stressed out, trying to get ready for their meetings. Went down to the restaurant, and then I did that again at 11 o'clock, and I did it at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock before I left for the day. So I saw every employee every day, and when you get to know your people, they get to help you run the place, and they tell you what needs to be fixed, what's wrong, how you can do a better job. And so you got to be relevant. You got to know what's going on, and to do that, you got to get out and be involved in that operation. Meet the guests at the front desk when they check in and when they check out, and find out what's really going on. Not sit in your office.
Yeah. It's Tom Peters' 1980s managing by walking around, which of course existed before then, but he gave it a name. And getting out there and seeing what actually is going on in a hotel environment, I'm sure is key to that. So why are there so many bad hotels in the world then, Lee?
Well, on that first question you just asked me, I'd say if you have teenage kids, make sure you go in their room frequently. Find out what's going on. But why is there bad service? I think people underestimate. Number one, they don't know what's going on. They don't know how bad it really is. Number two, I think people underestimate. They hire the wrong people. They're not careful enough. Most important thing you do in business is the people you hire. Second thing is training and testing. Train and test your people before you turn them loose on the guests. And then third, to create a culture where all your employees wake up in the morning and know they matter. They matter and they know they matter because you have a good culture and a good environment where you make people feel special, and then they take care of the guests because they want to, not because they have to. And there's a big difference in those two approaches to business.
Well, it's interesting. That theme of hiring in my life is actually hiring the right people has come up again and again recently, because I think it's something that a lot of people are realizing. First of all, we have choice again. The economy has changed and people are hiring again, where before, they were, I hate to say it, stuck with the staff that they had. Because especially if they're part of a corporation, there were hiring freezes and such. So people seem to have forgotten about that issue of hiring the right people. So if you can just go a little deeper into that, Lee, when it comes for a manager, for a leader to hire the right people, how do you best advise someone to go about doing that?
Well, I've been working with somebody for a few years now, and we've developed a set of questions for retail, for hospitality, for financial services, banks. And really what you're looking for when you hire somebody is, number one, obviously you need some skill, but the lower level jobs don't need as much skill. You can train that skill. But we look for skill, we look for a can-do attitude versus a can't-do attitude, and we look for passion, that they just love to do it. And a can-do attitude, and we develop questions around that, getting people to talk to us when you got 5 candidates for a job. I might ask you a question. Tell me about a specific time you had to deal with an irate customer. And what you want to listen for is what did they do and what was the outcome. And when you hear 5 candidates tell you what they did, some people will spend a week turning that situation around, and one guy will tell you, well, I talked to him for a couple of minutes and it didn't work out and she left mad. I mean, the difference between the can-do attitude, people who go all the way because that's the way they're wired, and the people who have a can't-do attitude, there's a big difference, and you don't hire can't-do people because you will never change them.
Yeah. So really you're hiring from the very beginning what you expect to get out of a person. I remember Southwest Airlines years ago had a slogan, we don't train our people to be nice, we hire nice people.
Hey, listen, Southwest, you know what a lady said to me recently? A
What's
flight
that?
attendant. I said, I love your airline. She said, I love our company. Then I was speaking to another large airline, and I mentioned her, and she said she hated her company. So there you go.
That's it. That's it in a nutshell right there, isn't it? I mean,
exactly.
And for a company that has the stock symbol of love, I think they they got
That's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Lee, viewers certainly can't ignore the fact that behind you, over your shoulder, is a beautiful Mickey. That can you tell us what that's made out of? First of all, the Mickey that's behind you.
That Mickey is made out of spoons, the whole thing, spoon handles, all parts of the spoon, soup spoons, teaspoons, iced tea spoons, dessert spoons. A good friend of mine, had this made for me by an artist in New York. in Chicago. And there's only one like it, and it's pretty cool. So I have to figure out who I'm going to give it to when I leave this earth.
Well, we don't want that to happen anytime soon. So let's just.
My grandkids don't either, so that's good.
That's great. Good. Well, so now we want to get into what you called in an email to me, the boss, Disney World and the Disney experience. And I just want to tell you by confession that in 1997, it was the first time I went to Disney World, and I was an adult. My parents couldn't afford us to go as kids, so I brought my kids there. And I got to tell you, I was pretty miserable weeks before that. I bought the unofficial guide to Disney World. I was convinced Disney was not going to get my hard-earned money out of me, and I had a laugh after watching a couple of videos of you in action. I was pretty ready for a fight up until the point when I even crossed the lake in a boat, going to Disney World for the first time. And that lasted for all of about a minute and 30 seconds once I got through the gate. The Disney magic is truly magical, and there is so much that goes into creating that magic, and you were the man behind that magic for quite some time. You ran all of operations in Disney World, which is a gigantic operation for anybody that even hasn't thought about it and can fathom. So, Lee, tell us, what is it to run a Disney World and to take a guy who was as curmudgeon as I was heading into the gate and completely transform someone in a minute and a half as they walk through?
Well, it's interesting. People ask that all the time. And in my first book, Creating Magic, the first sentence in that book says, it's not magic that makes Walt Disney World work. It's the way we work. And the reason we work is we hire the right people, we train them, we have high expectations, we hold people accountable. I even tell people, you don't have to be happy to work at Disney, but you got to act happy for 8 hours when you're on duty. And I'm going to write another book someday. It's going to be called Manage Like a Mother, because mothers don't care if you're happy. They care if you're successful. So you take the right action. Yeah. And so it's attention to detail. And really, at the end of the day, we're fanatical about detail, which you saw when you went there. One piece of paper on the ground can't happen. It's got to get picked up. It's got to get picked up fast. The bathroom's got to be spotless. All of those things. We're just fanatical. We're compulsive. We are never happy. We always want it better. And I think each time people come here, they see it getting better using technology, all kinds of approaches, new attractions, trying to give people what they want. And we charge for it, and we try to deliver on that.
Well, you do. And may I take a moment to confess to you, Lee, because you were indeed running the operation that first visit. I read all about Disney World, and I remember specifically what I did, so I'm going to confess this to you. I had a piece of Wrigley's spearmint gum, which, I know gum is not sold in the park, but I had it with me. I took that wrapper, and I kind of just stuck it at the edge of a flower bed. And this is a true story, okay? And I returned back there in an hour because I was testing Disney. And when I came back, it was gone. Someone had picked up and I made sure it couldn't blow away. It wasn't even a windy day. Someone had picked up that piece of trash, found it, and removed it within an hour. That amazed me. The second thing that amazed me that day is I was the idiot that went to every street sweeper and asked the dumbest questions that I could ask. Like, where was the men's room standing in front of the men's room? And things along those lines. I couldn't rattle your operation. In my opinion, I had never seen anything like it in my life. So what kind of training does it take? Once you hire the right people, what kind of training does it take to help that street sweeper see that they are an intrinsic part of the Disney operation?
Well, I think after they get hired, we have a full day they go to for traditions, learning about the traditions of the company, learning about Walt Disney, learning about how important it is to take care of the guests because it's one of the biggest trips of their life. It's not much expense account. It's people are spending their hard-earned money. It may be the first time a mother brought her daughter there, and she remembers when she came. And we really do a good job of orienting all new employees for a full day of the traditions of the company and how important it is what we do. And then they have extensive on-the-job training. We do not practice on our guests. We make sure people are well-trained before we turn them loose. Some jobs, it takes a month. Yeah. If you're checking people in at a desk, other jobs take less time. But we don't do training in front of the guest. We actually make sure backstage we have a little front office set up where they train back there, food operations, because it's annoying to run into an employee in any company or a cast member at Disney that doesn't know what they're doing. And it's one of the expectations of the guests, by the way, that we have knowledgeable employees that know how to do their job.
Yeah, yeah, and as you say, the magic is in the work, and the magic obviously is in the preparation of the training. There are details that, and one of the things that I always pick up on, the small things, the details. I love how the name tag of a Disney employee has the hometown from where that employee or that cast member is from. In fact, I took that idea when I opened a theater when I lived in Ohio and put everybody's hometown name on there because it started conversations for me when I was in Disney World, and if companies just took a minute and thought of those little details and how important they are, it would mean so much. Lee, we are so shallow into the questions that I have for you, but our time is about up. We haven't even mentioned the books that you've written, so I'd like to put those on screen for a second and entice people to come back and be here for another visit from you, because we still have to get into your newest book, which follow Creating the Magic. And I wonder if our guys can throw that up on the screen for us and show us Creating the Magic and the other book, your new book. There you go. There's Creating the Magic. That was your first book. What year did that come out, Lee?
That came out in '08.
Oh, wait, and today the advice in that book is as pertinent, and so few people have really paid attention to the message and brought that to their business. So I urge everybody to get that book. And let's put Lee's new book up on the screen, The Customer Rules. And this one is broken down to some very consumable pieces for people to follow based on the rules that you've put in this book. So I look forward to discussing that the next time you are back. Lee, we are out of time. Will you come back and join us again?
Absolutely. Thank you. It was great.
Will you bring the boss with you too?
The boss is working all the time.
Great. Well, Lee, thanks for being here, and we'll check back with you again real soon.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Well, folks, that ends another episode of Leader Be Led. We hardly even got into some of the things that I had to ask Lee. We're so dedicated to bringing you the best guests that we can, and to have someone that actually ran the Disney World operation, it's a huge honor, and also from the standpoint of learning, it is a huge education. So I urge you, go ahead and tweet, forward, share it, do whatever you want to do with our link. Get folks into the Leader Be Led community. Please comment on our YouTube page or on our website. We want to see you back here again for the next episode of Lead or Be Led. Thanks. Take care.